tonight.
Donald Trump has already started his attack.
She was very, very nasty. She was very disrespectful to Joe Biden.
The 2020 presidential campaign in full swing as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris make their joint case to American voters. Plus, the Labor Department releases its newest numbers, showing a big drop in unemployment applications, what that means for the economy, and
well, I'm not asking some of America to do it. We all got to do it.
Why many experts say wearing masks is vital for public health as America heads into the fall flu season amid the pandemic. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. A Middle East peace deal that includes Israel, but not the Palestinians. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup. Well, President Trump tonight announcing a historic peace deal between the Jewish state and the United Arab Emirates. The agreement creates full diplomatic ties between the two, both strategic American allies. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy has been following the announcement, including some of the fallout in the Middle East. Ben, what are some of the key takeaways of the new deal?
Well, John, first, this is no doubt a diplomatic win for President Trump ahead of the November election. It should also bring some stability to the region and security, as well as a major step towards peace in the Middle East.
This is a truly historic moment.
One element that could lead to some criticism within parts of Israel is the agreement to stop annexation plans for part of the West Bank, specifically areas known as Judea and Samaria, all lands sought by Palestinians for a future state.
After 49 years, Israel and the United Arab Emirates will fully normalize their diplomatic relations. They will exchange embassies and ambassadors and begin cooperation across the board and on a broad range of areas, including tourism, education, healthcare, trade, and security.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tweeted, "This is a historic day for the state of Israel." Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Ron Dermer, added, "A great day for peace." Israel commends the courage of Mohammed bin Zayed for the historic decision of the UAE to join Egypt and Jordan in making peace with Israel. The UAE becomes the first Gulf state and third Arab nation to agree to diplomatic ties with Israel, a deal the White House dubbed the Abraham Accord.
Abraham, as many of you know, was the father of all three great faiths. He's referred to as Abraham in the Christian faith, Ibrahim in the Muslim faith, and Avraham in the Jewish faith. And no person better symbolizes the potential for unity among all these three great faiths than Abraham.
We were able to achieve results that others were not able to achieve, and this will advance the region, and this will advance the whole world.
CBN's Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell says this changes the dynamic of the region.
Right now, I think the PA, for one, may feel like they're being bypassed, and I think they're feeling the abandonment of a major Arab nation. But I think really, and some people would say they really have only themselves to blame. They've failed to negotiate with Israel for years. They rejected the Trump peace plan outright.
Now, the Palestinian Authority, we've heard from them since that. They call the deal treason and are recalling their ambassador from the UAE over it. John?
All right, CBN's Ben Kennedy. Today's peace deal, though, comes at a time of turmoil in Israel, a crippled economy, and a surge in coronavirus cases unfolding with chaos in the streets. Weeks of protests are putting the fate of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his government in jeopardy. The big question, will it force another election? Here once again, Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem.
On Sunday, a signal Israel's unity government could be unraveling as it failed to hold its weekly cabinet meeting.
The Israeli government is a unity government in name only. They've already proven over the span of only 3 months that it is nearly impossible for them to work together.
The latest impasse, whether or not to pass a 1 or 2 year budget. Benjamin Netanyahu wants 1 year, while Benny Gantz is pushing for 2. If there's no agreement by August 25th, Israel faces its 4th election in 2 years.
Netanyahu is happy to sign a 2020 budget agreement because that will give him a second possible trigger to go to elections early in 2021, several months before Gantz is slated to take over as prime minister.
Political commentator Michael Widlansky sees Israel and the U.S. going through similar political waters.
We have almost like a perfect storm, and that's also true in the United States. You have a situation where there are problems which were unresolved for a year and a half. A government was not elected. There were 3 elections. Nothing was resolved. We don't want to go into a 4th election. There's uncertainty.
Then COVID-19 hit.
This is an opportunity for people who are against Netanyahu to say, he messed up. It's not his fault. It's certainly not all his fault.
There are also the protests, a combination of Israelis from parties opposing Netanyahu, including the Arab Communist Hadash Party and former prime ministers such as Ehud Barak.
The left wing has proven 3 times in the last year plus that it cannot defeat Netanyahu at the polls. They recognize that they need to change the game on the ground, and that is why they're launching a protest movement.
Wedlansky also sees similarities between the Israeli and American media.
The media in the United States have lost all semblance of fair play. The media in Israel have been going in that direction for a while. They're very left of center, some respects far left, very, very anti-Netanyahu. They are treating the demonstrators here as if they are knights fighting dragons. That's not true.
The sheer magnitude gives the appearance of political trouble for Netanyahu. Wedlansky disagrees.
If elections were held today, this minute, right now, Netanyahu would be prime minister again. His party would be the largest party again.
An interesting prediction, given the past 3 elections and that Netanyahu faces a criminal trial that could take years. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
All right, thank you, Chris. Well, back here at home, for the first time in 5 months, the number of Americans filing for unemployment aid fell below 1 million. According to the Department of Labor, 963,000 people sought state unemployment benefits for the first time. That's the lowest level of claims since March. Just under 490,000 sought relief through the CARES Act, specifically designed for gig economy and self-employed workers who don't qualify for regular state unemployment. Layoffs are slowing, but the recovery appears to be stalling, and most of the new job losses are likely permanent. Well, joining me now to talk all things the economy, Mark Hamrick, Washington Bureau Chief and Senior Economic Analyst for Bankrate. Mark, welcome back to Faith Nation.
Good to be with you, John. Thank you.
Mark, after 20 straight weeks, we finally see unemployment claims fall below the 1 million threshold. You say that this is welcome news, but you also add a word of caution when it comes to joblessness overall.
Absolutely, John. Let's remember that at the implied unemployment rate we had in this latest reading, still above 10%. 10% was the peak of the financial crisis and Great Recession. And even within this reading, we had some 28 million Americans receiving some kind of unemployment benefit in total. So this is still a dire situation. I do think some more good news here, John, is that over the previous 2 weeks, we've had a decline that has been larger than expected, and that total decline over those 2 weeks, about 500,000 claims. So this is really setting up for the possibility of a surprise in the sense of a better than expected August employment report. Not everyone follows this stuff, but typically these surveys that are done that produce the monthly employment report is done right about this time. And so it is gathered around the second week of the month. And so it is looking as if we may have some more favorable economic data down the road. But obviously, we don't want to forget about the 28 million Americans who are hurting out there.
For sure. Well, Congress and the White House are no closer to reaching a deal. In fact, Mitch McConnell just announced that the Senate will adjourn September 8th without a deal in sight. Meanwhile, there's serious doubt about the impact of the president's executive orders. What concerns you most, Mark, about the personal fallout for those in need caught in the middle of this political stalemate?
Well, yeah, the Senate basically leaving town and saying, see you in September means that I don't think there are great prospects for a deal anytime soon. And so the president seized upon the initiative, or sensing a void, to give himself some time in signing these orders. But they are really not sufficiently adequate, I would say, to help people who are hurting out there. I think that there's a great deal of question about just how effective they will be. So whether it's a continuance of the payroll protection program or the heightened level of benefits to replace the $600 a week benefit we had before, there are all kinds of things that can be done to help people who are out there these days among the millions of unemployed. And right now, unfortunately, members of both parties are really putting the primary sense of, let's say, engagement that they bring to work every day, placing the priority with their political party and not with the broader American people. And I think that's a mistake, and I think it's unfortunate.
Mark, we have just about a half minute left. Finally, can you talk about how the pandemic has transformed how we do business, moving more to the digital world? For example, car sales are booming.
Great questions. Many dealers realized at the outset of this pandemic that they weren't going to get people in showrooms as they did before. So those that have been really successful have been engaging with their customers online, and then obviously eventually those customers come to the lot to take delivery. Tesla's a great example. It's been killing it with sales numbers, and you can only buy a Tesla online. So all kinds of great innovation happening for all kinds of businesses, restaurants doing takeout and delivery as a good example, not so much in the dining room. So this is fostering innovation, and in some cases it's been forced, but this is going to be one of the success stories of the economy. It's going to help companies down the line.
All right, American innovation in spite of a pandemic. Mark Hamrick, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll be back right after the break.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Welcome back. Joe Biden's presidential campaign raised a staggering $26 million in the 24 hours following the announcement of Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate. Today, the former vice president and Harris appeared together again in Delaware, getting briefed firsthand by health experts on the coronavirus crisis. President Trump's coronavirus response is already a main talking point of the Biden-Harris ticket. Today, Biden called on all Americans to wear masks and for governors across the country to issue mandatory orders. Harris adding that such a move is necessary.
So what real leadership looks like is Joe Biden to speak up, sometimes telling us the stuff that we don't necessarily want to hear, but we need to know. And the need for this mandatory mask wearing will also be about what Joe has articulated and what a Biden-Harris administration will do.
And of course, as we all know, masks have been a source of debate since the beginning of the pandemic. Now, with the number of hospitalizations from COVID-19 starting to decrease, there is increasing pressure on Americans to wear masks. And expectedly, some are pushing back. Dale Hurd has the story.
36 states and the District of Columbia now have laws about wearing masks in public. Even Google Assistant on Android phones is telling users to wear masks.
When in public, wear a mask, just a teeny weeny task.
The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources has ordered employees to wear masks on video calls from home to set a safety example and to show they care about others. But in Florida, Marion County Sheriff Billy Wood says his deputies won't be allowed to wear face masks except under certain conditions, and neither will visitors to the sheriff's office. And in Marion County's largest city, Ocala, the mayor vetoed a new city ordinance making mask wearing mandatory.
I just think we should leave it to the people, and they want to wear a mask, wear a mask. You don't want to wear one, don't wear one. Have respect for each other.
Then the city council voted to override his veto.
It makes it really that much harder when elected officials like the sheriff or the mayor or others put in conspiracy theories into the middle of all that.
Both the CDC and the World Health Organization now recommend masks after earlier recommending not wearing masks. The CDC also did not recommend masks in most situations during the 2009 swine flu epidemic, which saw 12 times as many cases in the U.S. and almost twice the number of deaths of COVID-19.
Surgical mask, trial 1. Go.
Stay healthy, people.
But for those who want or need to wear a mask, a new test by researchers at Duke University found that the fitted N95 mask, the surgical mask, and polycotton masks did best. The director of the CDC is warning the virus won't be contained if people refuse to wear masks.
I'm not asking some of America to do it. We all got to do it.
This, even though experts aren't sure if those tiny moisture droplets from your nose and mouth actually contribute to the spread of coronavirus. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. The move to create the 51st state. Is it about fairness and representation, or all about securing control of Congress? A look at both sides of the argument when Faith Nation returns.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Welcome back. Taxation without representation, not just the battle cry of the Revolutionary War, it is the tagline on license plates in Washington, D.C. And after years of fighting for congressional representation, the U.S. House recently approved a measure making D.C. the 51st state, though it has no chance of passing in the Senate. Arizona Republican Senator Martha McSally says if Democrats win big in November, the GOP would never again control the Senate, telling NBC News, quote, "There's so much at stake, they're going to make D.C. and Puerto Rico a state and get 4 new Democrat senators, we'd never get the Senate back again. Well, for advocates of D.C. statehood, the debate over adding Washington as the 51st state is all about securing voting rights for taxpayers in the nation's capital. But as Jennifer Wishon explains, more and more that fiery debate's becoming bogged down by the question of who gets control of Congress.
Each year, tens of millions of tourists flock here to Washington, D.C. from every corner of the globe. It's a one-of-a-kind place designed specifically and carefully laid out in the Constitution.
The framers wanted to have the seat of the new federal government independent of any given state.
Roger Pilon with the Cato Institute has twice testified before Congress about the implications of granting statehood to D.C.
They didn't want any given state to be disproportionately influential on the new government.
Neutral ground to conduct the people's business. And for people living in the district, Congress would serve as their local government. Today, the push from many of the 700,000 residents can be seen in the streets through the revolutionary slogan, "Taxation without representation." Since they pay federal taxes, residents want the right to elect their own representatives to Congress. Making the district a state has been debated for decades, and last month, the Democratic-controlled House approved it.
The District of Columbia Statehood Bill, H.R. 51, is passed.
Every Republican and 1 Democrat voted no. The bill takes the 10 square miles of Washington, D.C. as specified in the Constitution and reduces it to an enclave around the National Mall that would remain under congressional control. What's left would become the 51st state, called the Washington Douglas Commonwealth, a nod to both George Washington and Frederick Douglass. The measure is dead on arrival, at least for now, given the Republican-controlled Senate. President Trump also opposes it. Since the majority of D.C. residents are black, Speaker Pelosi and Democratic leaders saw now as an opportunistic time to champion the issue.
You might be wondering why D.C. is not yet a state, and it's actually a pretty easy one to answer. It is racism.
But opponents say the push for statehood is simply about political gain.
This proposal is plainly nothing but a Democratic power grab.
If representation is what residents want, they could push to return parts of the district to Maryland, which ceded the land to create the district in the first place. But here's the rub. That solution wouldn't allow for the addition of 2 new senators.
Our cause for statehood is certainly about making sure we have 2 voting senators to speak up for us and making sure that our Congresswoman has a vote.
And since D.C. voted for the Democratic nominee by 80% or more in the last 5 presidential contests, statehood would virtually guarantee 2 new Democratic senators.
This is not about enfranchising people. This is about expanding the Senate map to accommodate the most radical agenda that I've ever seen since I've been up here, getting more radical by the day. There's nothing these people won't do to change the face of the country, and we're tired of it. We're going to fight back.
Under the House plan, the federal government would become dependent on this 51st state for essentials like utilities, snow removal, and fire services. Pilon says recent Black Lives Matter demonstrations reveal how a D.C. state could possibly wreak havoc.
One can imagine scenarios that would be quite uncomfortable. For example, if you had the District of Columbia with its own state government, entirely Democratic, and you had a president who was Republican in the White House, you could imagine the temptation to, for example, withhold services.
If the Senate and White House flip to Democratic control, the measure will likely pass as Joe Biden supports it. Pilon argues it would then wind up in court because Congress simply doesn't have the authority to make D.C. a state through legislation.
Every Justice Department that has looked at this issue from the time when Robert Kennedy was an Attorney General in 1963 has said that Congress has no power to do what is contemplated in this bill.
That means a new amendment to the Constitution, which requires ratification by 3/4 of the states. The latest attempt came in 1978 when Democrats led Congress and Jimmy Carter was here at the White House. They passed a constitutional amendment aimed at giving D.C. voting representation in Congress. But at the end of the 7-year deadline, only 16 states had ratified it. Fast forward to 2020, and the most recent polling shows 64% of Americans still oppose adding D.C. as a state. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, the White House.
Thank you, Jennifer. From golf tees to textbooks, why one former clubhouse is being converted into a schoolhouse when we come back.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Finally tonight, an abandoned Colorado golf clubhouse is getting a facelift, and it's not to welcome new players to the green. Instead, it's for at-risk students needing somewhere to go during school hours.
You can call it what you want. This is just a safe place for kids to learn and do what they're supposed to do during the day. We're going to have teachers in here to be able to help these kids right when they're doing their work on school, make sure they're logged on to where they're supposed to be logged on, so keeping track of kids and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do.
The transformation from clubhouse to schoolhouse is the work of Denver's Gang Rescue and Support Project. Besides keeping kids on task when it comes to their schoolwork, they'll also offer meals to those who need them with absolutely no cost to parents. That is a pretty neat concept. Well, thanks so much for watching Faith Nation. Hope to see you again tomorrow, and have a great night.